So the 2019 Tour de France starts on Saturday, July 6th in Brussels, Belgium. But believe it or not, a lot has changed since last year's tour. So here's an update on team changes, rider changes, and a few new names to keep an eye out for to help you while watching this year's tour. First of all, Team Sky is now called Team Ineos, after General Manager Dave Brailsford very quickly found a new title sponsor following the announcement that Team Sky would be leaving the sport at the end of the season. He found a new sponsor so quick, in fact, that he installed the new sponsor in May, which means those black and blue Sky jerseys you're used to seeing are now black and red. Nothing else has changed though. Same infrastructure, same riders, and of course, those same hot Pinarello bikes that the team will be riding. Team BMC is also now Team CCC, after Team General Manager Jim Okowitz merged his BMC squad with a smaller second division team called Team CCC. Instead of those red BMC jerseys you were used to seeing in the 2018 tour, you're now going to see bright orange CCC jerseys. Many of the riders have left, however, Greg van Avermaet, the classic star that won Paris-Roubaix recently for the squad, remains. Look for him to do his best to challenge for a green jersey in the Tour's points competition. Another team switch involves France's team Direct Energie. They're still sponsored by Direct Energie, they just have a new title sponsor, the French petrochemical company Total. So they're now called Total Direct Energie. And instead of racing in black and yellow kits, they're going to be racing in red, white, and blue kits. Staying with the French, Fortuneio Samsic is now Arkea Samsic. The team's kit remains unchanged, however, with white jerseys and white bibs presenting the team's sponsors. So they'll be pretty easy to spot. Belgium's Quick Step is now De Koninck Quick Step, after the team found a new title sponsor following last year's tour. However, their bright blue kit remains largely unchanged, so they'll be easy to see too. And Team Lotto NL Jumbo is now Jumbo Visma. Thankfully, their kit remains unchanged. It's the same black and yellow pattern you were used to seeing when their Slovenian former ski jumper, Primož Roglič, rode to a 4th place finish in last year's race. Roglič, by the way, won't be in this year's tour. He raced the Giro d'Italia in May. All right, that was the teams. What about the riders? Well, the two biggest changes in this year's race are that two of the sport's biggest and best Grand Tour contenders won't be competing. I'm speaking, of course, about Chris Froome and Tom Dumoulin. Froome, who rides for Team Ineos, formerly Team Sky, remember, crashed in a pre-tour training race, breaking his pelvis, elbow, shoulder, and even a few vertebrae in his neck. He's out for at least 6 months, ending his season. Dumoulin, the Dutchman who finished 2nd place in last year's tour while riding for Team Sunweb, was supposed to start the race. He crashed in May's Tour of Italy, left early enough that he was able to readjust his training plan to be at his peak for the Tour de France, but then withdrew from the Critérium du Dauphiné in early June with knee pain. We won't see German sprinter Marcel Kittel, who's won 14 tour stages from 2013 to 2017. Kittel, you may recall, really struggled in last year's race with Katusha Alpecin. He continued that unfortunate trend at the beginning of the season, and several weeks ago announced that he was effectively taking a hiatus, or as some consider it to be, retiring from professional cycling. So no tour for Kittel. We also won't see Fernando Gaviria, who won 2 stages in last year's race for Quick Step and then transferred in the off-season to UAE Team Emirates. Gaviria injured his knee in a crash in April and hasn't recovered in time to be ready for the tour. So no Kittel, no Gaviria. We will see German sprinter Andre Greipel, who's won 11 Tour de France stages in his career. However, he transferred this past off-season from Lotto Soudal, the Belgian team, to the French wildcard team Arkea Samsic. In terms of GC contenders, the biggest change sees Richie Porte moving from Team BMC, which is now Team CCC, remember, over to Trek Segafredo. Hopefully a change of scenery will be good for Porte, who crashed out of both the last 2 Tours de France, both times during Stage 9. And let's not forget American TJ Van Garderen, who was Port's teammate at BMC. Van Garderen's now riding for EF Education First, formerly Garmin, Slipstream, you know, the Argyle team that we all love to root for. He's starting the tour in support of Rigoberto Urán, the Colombian who finished second overall in 2018. But we think that if things go right for TJ, and unfortunately maybe wrong for Rigo, TJ could sneak his way into the top 10 and possibly win a stage. Last but not least, let's talk about some Tour rookies whose names we think you're going to get used to hearing over the course of this year's Tour de France. Remember how we said Andre Greipel left Lotto Soudal to ride for that French wildcard team? Well, there was a reason, and that reason's name is Caleb Ewan. Ewan is a young Australian field sprinter who won stages at the Tour of Spain and the Tour of Italy while riding with Mitchelton Scott. However, Ewan was told for several seasons he'd be given a chance to ride the Tour. That chance never materialized. So Ewan jumped ship last season to race for Lotto Soudal, who of course was eager to sign a younger, faster sprinter to replace Greipel. So Greipel's out, Ewan is in at Lotto Soudal, and we think Ewan could easily win a sprint stage or two at this year's race. Then there's Bahrain Merita's Matej Mohoric. It's a hard name to pronounce, but don't worry, you're going to be hearing it a lot. Mohoric won both the junior and under-23 World Championship road races in back-to-back years, and then turned pro at the tender age of 19. At 24 years old, he's now a seasoned professional and is going to get a chance to ride his first Tour de France. Mohoric is one of those talents that seemingly has limitless potential. He does well in hilly races, in stage races, even in cobbled classics, and we think that we haven't even begun to see what he's truly capable of. We should also talk about EF Education First's Mike Woods, the Canadian climber who's also riding his first Tour de France this year. Woods is a former elite long-distance runner who switched over to cycling several years ago. He's since proven himself to be one of the sport's best climbers. He actually won a mountain stage at last year's Tour of Spain and then a bronze medal at the World Championships held on one of the hilliest courses in recent memory. We expect Woods to have a fantastic tour. Even though he's going to be supporting Rigoberto Urán, we suspect there are several stages that suit his strengths, and we wouldn't be surprised if he wins Canada, its second only Tour de France stage. And last but not least, there's three-time world cyclocross champion Wout van Aert from Belgium, who races for Jumbo-Visma, the Dutch team. In 2 short seasons, Van Aert has proven himself to be one of the hottest young riders in the sport. Generally thought of as a classic star in the making, Van Aert surprised a lot of us by winning 2 stages at the Criterium du Dauphiné in June. First, an individual time trial, which when you think of it, kind of makes sense considering as a cyclocross star, he's used to going as hard as he can for an hour. Then he won a field sprint, which has many people considering him a dark horse to win the Tour's green jersey. I think that's a bit of a stretch, but I do think he's a safe pick for stage 1, which starts and ends in Brussels, and coincidentally goes over several of the cobbled climbs Van Aert excels on. Phew, that is a lot to keep track of, but don't worry, because over at bicycling.com, we're going to have stage previews, wrap-ups, and analysis to keep you up to date on everything you need to know throughout the tour.